Hey there guys, I am the Six Machine and welcome back to another Warhammer video. So following on from the Chaos previews at Warhammer Fest yesterday, we get to what is for some people the biggest bit of news that came out of the announcements yesterday, and that is some fairly significant changes to how the game is going to work and how it's going to play in the next upcoming chapter approved. I'm also very quickly going to say here as well, I have a video coming out next week that I recorded a couple of weeks ago about some of the things that I wanted to see in 10th edition 40k, and a couple of these ideas are touched upon in that video. So when you are watching that video next week, do just remember that I obviously thought of all of these first, and GW just copied my ideas from Through the Warp. But in any event, yes, there is a brand new chapter approved mission pack coming, Nephilim, with a very serious looking Necron on the cover, so perhaps there's going to be some new rules or an army of renown or something for them. But the main focus in this chapter approved that they talk about seems to be, as I said, some very big, very sweeping changes to the actual core rule set. The first of these that they talk about is command points, and this is being changed so that unlike now where you start a 2000 point game with around 12 or so, you are going to start the game with around half that from now on, so around 6 instead of 12. But then to balance that out, each battle round you will be gaining extra CP. So it will probably balance out overall as far as how many CP you get in the game total. It just means that there is a lot less front loading available to you, and you can't put, 2 or 3 huge game winning stratagems onto a single unit to completely blow away an enemy while still keeping those points for an interrupt or a CP reroll or any other defensive stratagem that you may want to use in your turn. It's going to mean at the end of the day that you're going to have to be a lot more cagey, at least in the first couple of turns, about how you divvy up your command points and whether you want to save some back for a big power combo in turns 3 or 4 rather than spending them all in turns 1 or 2. And I just think in general it's going to do a huge amount to curb the lethality that 9th edition has at the moment, which is in part due to the various stratagem combinations that you can put together. It's also going to be really useful in helping to smooth out the overall level of cool and fun and powerful abilities that you can use across the course of the game, and we won't see all of the amazing stratagems just used and done and gone turns 1 and 2. You will still have some exciting things to look forward to and to spring on your opponent in the later stages of the game. There is an issue, and any Orc players will agree with me here. This is going to hurt some armies that really do like to spend a lot of CP on pre-game stratagems like relics and warlord traits and all that kind of thing. It's going to hurt them a bit because you may not be able to kit out your characters quite as well as you would like and still have the CP to do some stratagems turn 1 and 2. But again, I'm not entirely sure that's a bad thing. It just means, again, you are going to have to be very tactical and considered about how and when you spend your CP. So for me in general, I think this is a huge, huge improvement to the game overall, and one which I hope they will carry over to every season and every edition going forward. Next up, they mention a change to the secondaries, and yes, I know some of you players like Demon and Guard players don't even have any secondaries yet, but this is all being changed because in this new chapter approved, secondaries for every army are being put in, and they are being updated and tweaked and probably most importantly balanced against each other. And what that's going to mean is that a secondary from, say, the early Necron Codex isn't really similar but massively harder to achieve in some way than one from a newer codex like the Eldari. It will just let everyone get onto a more level playing field on the secondary front, and I think again this isn't going to fix the game on its own, but it will go a long, long way to helping struggling armies have better secondaries to choose so they can compete against things like the Tyranids and the Custodes and the Eldari from a victory point perspective. So again, I think this is a really, really good, long overdue change that will hopefully help to balance out some of the win and the loss rates across the board. The final big change that they talk about is honestly one of the biggest updates I think GW have ever done. This is genuinely, genuinely huge because there are no points costs in the new chapter approved. They are being removed from it completely. And that's because points cost are now going to be free in the Warhammer app and on the Warhammer community website. Yep, free points for all the armies. And the reason this is so good is that now not only do you not strictly need to buy chapter approved if you don't want to stay up to date with your army and your points and everything, you can just go look online instead, but also with them being online digitally, it's going to mean that GW doesn't have to wait 6 months or, every quarter with the balance data slate to update points. They can do it basically whenever they want. If they know something is being released a bit too powerful, they can update it the day after a codex releases. They can update it a week after a codex releases. They can update it the day after a tournament has happened and one list has been massively overpowered compared to everything else. It gives them so much more flexibility to do quicker, faster changes, but also smaller, more ad hoc focused changes instead of waiting for the sweeping army-wide ones that they do in chapter approved now. If there's just one unit that's the problem, they don't need to wait till chapter approved to do the entire faction. They can just go in and laser focus on that particular unit to bump it up 10 points or whatever. This really is one of the biggest things that they could do to help balance the game, and let's be honest, it's years overdue, but I am personally so happy to see it finally come in, and I do genuinely think that all the changes in this chapter approved, the points, the CP changes and the secondary changes, may well make the Twilight of 9th edition actually balanced. Whether you're playing Astra Militarum or Eldari, obviously on a datasheet front, there may be advantages to one faction, but if at least you can compete on a secondary front and your points are in some way comparable and you are not going to get blown away by the Eldari player or whoever it may be using all of their 12 command points to do some uber powerful strat turn 1, you should be able to at least compete with them to a reasonable degree, and I think that is a really good state for an edition to be in. It's going to make the game balanced, enjoyable, and competitive no matter what army you play, and for me that is one of the best bits of news that they could possibly release. But what do you think of these chapter approved changes? And is there anything else you would like to see GW do to make things even more balanced in addition to the things that they've shown off here? Let me know in the comments below, and as always, thank you very much for watching. Please do like and subscribe for more Warhammer content from me. But until next time, I'll catch you later, guys.